So, you want to bag your Lexus Lc500. Hello everyone, welcome back to Fitment TV, and we have this very nice and clean looking Lc500. So this is actually our good friend Kevin's, and if you don't know Kevin, he is also the owner of the Ferrari Misha 458. And yes, he does have an Lc500 also, and it is now on air suspension. So quick note, we are using his stock suspension because if you didn't know, the Lc500 actually has dampening adjustments through the ride modes that it has. So it has an Eco, Comfort, Sport S, and Sport S Plus. And it's still working, it's still functional, and it's on airbags, it's on air suspension. But this car is really fun. And I've been working closely with a lot of Lexus cars since my arrival here at Fitment, and I am actually falling in love with them now, especially after driving this. And I want a Lexus now. I want an RC350. They're really comfortable cars. They're really comfortable cars. They're really nice. They're really clean. It's inside. The interior is very nice. You get what you pay for, and I have no idea why their appreciation value isn't as high as I'd expect it to be. Yes, they're expensive to buy, but its resale isn't as high as you think. So maybe in the future, if success is in my path, I will find a way to buy one of these, either an Lc500 or an RC350, because I really want a Lexus now. So that's pretty much it for this. We'll show you the layout later because this is pretty cool, what we did for the layout. And a lot of you guys are actually familiar with what type of layout this is. But of course, that won't stop me from educating you guys. And for the other people that don't know, or if they're wondering what type of layout that is, I'll discuss it with you later. So before this intro gets any longer, please don't forget to subscribe to Fitment TV. We are now at 21,000 subscribers. And I would like to thank every single one of you out there who continue to follow us and support us along this journey. And don't forget to like and subscribe, share the video, click on the notification bell icon as it really does help. As well, it keeps you updated on our catalog videos like these, our multi-piece highlights, and of course, our shop updates and many more to come. Come along with me, lend me your ears as this part of the video will get technical but educational as we discuss the under chassis. Welcome to the very big and spacious front suspension of the Lc500. So as you can see, this is actually a double wishbone suspension. We have some sort of lateral arm over here, which goes to the upper control arms in this case. We have two ball joints for the top. So if we say that the upper control arm on the double wishbone suspension is a very good, a very versatile. So we have two upper control arms in this case. So as you can see, we have two ball joints. If ever one goes out, you change one. If ever both goes out, you change two. And then you have two bushings here, of course, for the control arms. And then you're greeted right away with the stock suspension on air springs. So we converted it to air springs. These are the stock struts of the Lc500. We wanted to keep the ride modes on the different modes of the car. So we tested it out, it works. It's fully functional. And Kevin also wanted to keep that as much as possible, and we did. So at first, if anyone ever dives into smart suspension and they work on it, we always check suspension or the shock after teardown to see if it's alive, if it's still working, if it's still functional, usable. What we do is we always push it on the ground and then simulate if it's compressing under load on the ride. At first we thought they were dead, and then we came to an assumption or a consensus that we had to plug in the suspension and start the car and then test it again, and apparently it was alive. So if ever you guys work on something similar to this and you think that the shocks are dead, plug it in first to check on the ride modes and then pump the shocks just to make sure if it's really dead or not. That's just one thing to note. And we are using a slim bag for the front, and it's pretty spacious here. So it's a double wishbone suspension. The shocks itself don't move when you're steering, unlike a McPherson type strut. So what is a McPherson type strut? There is actually a bearing on the top of the top mount on the shocks that make the shocks rotate on an axis when steering. So this is a double wishbone, so that doesn't do that. We have independent arms traveling up and down while steering at the same time. so the shocks stay in its place. And that's pretty much it for the front. As you can see, we're using a straight fitting, and we follow the brake lines as usual that go into the engine bay and then straight into the chassis to the rear section of the layout. We didn't really have much problems with it because, as you can see, it's pretty spacious. So the bag from the actual control arm is, I can fit my whole fist there. It's not hitting anything. The back end of the bag towards the inner strut tower, it's still far. I can fit my whole hand through. So you can see my fingers are over there. And it's pretty easy to work on. Designing wasn't so hard because, as you can see, there's a lot of room to play with. There's a lot of space. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the front suspension. Now let's talk about the rear. So I'll see you there. Okay, so welcome to the rear section naman of the LC500. So this is the rear suspension. We're looking at the multi-link suspension. We have a lot going on here. So we actually have an upper control arm here. This is for toe. We have lower control arms, and then we have camber arms as well, which is pretty nice. So you have full adjustability in the future if you go aftermarket parts with adjustability, of course. And then besides that, we have our stock suspension with a double bellow fat bag naman. So for the front, we had a double bellow slim. I will explain why. Our fat bags are softer compared to slim bags. And since the rear isn't as heavy as the front, of course, mas madaling pisakin ng karga ng kotse yung slim bag sa harap kumpara dito sa likod. So initially, we thought slim bag for front and rear, but we ended up switching to a fat bag. Ride is really good with the design that we chose. For clearances on this bag, it's pretty tight. It's not as tight, but I can fit my fingers naman through my hand here towards the back of the car. No problem. For the front, there's more space compared here sa likod. And then the actual back side of the bag, daming lugar, daming space. I can fit all of my fingers through, and it's not hitting anything. So for our hose lines naman, our fitting is actually here towards the back, and then it goes down into the brake lines and then goes straight into the trunk. So if you see this hose right here, this is actually our exhaust. So don't think that this is just some loose hose or loose cable that supposedly does something, but it's not connected. This is our exhaust line. And for the rear, it's pretty spacious. Tighter compared to the front, but nonetheless still spacious, of course. And this car, I really have nothing bad to say about it. The rear was really easy to work with. The front was really easy to work with. Designing wasn't a pain in the head. Tearing down usually, of course, is easier compared to installing. But if you have a hard time tearing down a car, much more harder to install. Tearing down this car wasn't hassle. It wasn't a pain in the head. This car is actually being released today. After the shoot, we were going straight to Kevin's. I'm pretty sure he misses this car. It's been out of commission for a while because, of course, it got wrapped. Now, it's been here for a week. I think I can end the rear suspension with that. We're using a double bellow fat bag, stock suspension. This is a multi-link suspension. The only overwhelming thing here, or intimidating thing here, of course, is the multiple links, hence multi-link. But that's pretty much it for the rear section. Now we can go to the trunk and discuss the beautiful and minimalistic layout. So I'll see you there. Voila! Look how beautiful the trunk setup is here for our layout. So this is what you call a Endo CT tank. Now, what does the CT stand for? CT actually means compressor and tank. So it's an all-in-one. There's also a tank that you call CVT, which includes the valve inside the tank. Now, the beauty of this is that it makes noise for the compressor really, really minimal. Now, you hear barely any of it. Now, especially with this car, the panels are really thick. There's a lot of sound deadening as well. So, halos wala ka talaga maririnig dyan sa loob from inside while you're driving. So, it's really convenient. It's really comfortable. Walang nakakarindi sa tenga. Now, the downside of an endo tank actually is that maintenance for this can be a pain in the butt sometimes, and finding leaks can be hard. But thankfully, this one was not much of a problem to us. There was just 2 micro leaks that we found pretty easily. Just had to give it some time to source it out, and we found it. So that's done, no more leaks. As you can see, we have our fitment, our feels. This is our 4th generation of our system, and it's mounted by an EXO mount. So there's actually a bracket here at the back that mounts the whole system. Now, it's really, really nice. Kevin actually wanted to try our best He wanted us to do our best to minimize using his cargo space as much as possible, which we did our best, and I think we pulled it off because LC500's trunk is not as big as you'd expect. Now, what do you guys think of the layout? I think it's really clean. We just put we put some fresh wood in here, carpeted the wood, and it blends in pretty well. It fits really snugly in there, and it looks like nothing really changed in here. It's like you just have some extra, whatever this is, whatever you want to call it, and it's just mashed into the edge of the end of the trunk. So it's pretty clean, sleek, it's minimalistic. Barely any cargo space was used, and I think we did pretty well. So that's pretty much it for the layout, and I'll see you back in the front of the car where we can discuss our dynamics and our overall thoughts and opinions of the LC500 on air suspension. Now that we have discussed the under chassis for the front and the rear, we've also told you about the layout in the trunk. What do you guys think about the endo? It's very convenient, it's very comfortable, there's no noise. With the LC, there's a lot of sound deadening, and the panels are really thick, so you barely hear it. So sometimes you're gonna think that the compressor is actually off. Yeah, this car remains comfortable, this car remains sporty at the same time, and it now has an additive of lift and air out, because who doesn't want to look good when they're parked? So now we're gonna discuss dynamics of the car. So let me start it up real quick. I really like this thing. It's like a GTR in a way. The door, it's cool. This car drives really well. Drives comfortably, drives sporty at the same time. So now we're gonna start it up. I mean, it started already, of course. So now we're gonna check out its dynamics. We're actually at P2 right now, so let's discuss that. At P2, we're looking at a 2-finger gap in the front. So that's 30 mm, one finger is 15 mm. So that's just over an inch. For the rear, we're sitting at a tight 2-finger gap as well. So we have over an inch of lift for P2. For P3, we're now at 3. 3 for the front, so that's 45 mm. For the rear, we're at 3 as well. So P1, of course, you know it's gonna be 1-finger gap, but while we're at P3, let's go all the way up. Which puts us around a tight 3.5 to a tight 4-finger gap. So that's around 60 mm more or less. For the rear, we're sitting at a loose, not really a loose, but more of a tight 4. So that's also 60 mm. Let's go to P1 before we air out. P1, 1-finger baby, let's go. So designing this, it's pretty easy. We're at a fat bag in the front, and then we're at the slim at the rear. Now, what everyone's waiting for, let's air out this baby. What do you guys think? Obviously, there's no more finger gap for the fender. For the skirt to the floor, we're at 2 fingers. That's pretty low. 2 fingers from front to rear. So the skirt from the ground is at roughly 30 mm from the ground. And this thing is really low. I mean, look at it. It's really nice to look at, of course. Fun fact, this car came from wrapping. It's wrapped by our really close friends at Second Skin. And this is, I believe, what you call a midnight blue. So this is a similar color to Archie's C63. That is actually right there behind us right now. And what do you guys think? This car is really, really low. It looks nice. And to think that this is actually a 20, I believe, if I can find it. It's a... No, this is a 21-inch in rim. And it's on 40 series tires, so that's pretty thick. If this was a 22, we could do fender to lip, push it out a bit more. But maybe we can do that for next time. We can suggest that to Kevin. He's actually on 35 series in the rear, 21 as well. So keep in mind, the front wheel well will always be bigger, or the arch will be bigger compared to the rear, because we of course need to accommodate steering. Is the LC500 a good stance car? I'd say of course, yeah, look at it. Like, how is this not a nice stance car? There's nothing really much to say because it's such a beautiful car to look at, to stare at. You can air it up, air it down, look at it, appreciate it, drive it, do whatever you want with it, and it's a car. It works, it functions. That's pretty much it. So let me guys know what you guys think. Put it down in the comment section below. Do you think that the LC500 is a good platform for air suspension? Do you think it's a good stance car? And we'd love to hear your feedback. Probably in the future, we could do like a Fitment reacts to people's comments, and let me guys know also what type of content you want besides these catalog videos and multi-piece highlights, because we really want to push more content now, especially that the team is growing here at Fitment. And that's pretty much it for that. So don't forget to subscribe. We are now at 21,000 subscribers. Thank you to every single one of you out there. Don't forget to like and share the video, as it does help us a lot, so we can reach more people, educate more people, and of course, get more people to make the switch to air suspension. Also, lastly, don't forget to click on the notification bell icon so you guys can stay updated on our catalog videos like these, our multi-piece highlights, and of course, shop updates, and many more videos to come. So that's been pretty much it. This has been Julio Neri of Fitment TV, and I'll see you on the next one.